The year was 1966. The American coinage landscape was in chaos. Silver was disappearing from our dimes and quarters, replaced by a copper-nickel-clad composition. Amid this massive transition, the Denver Mint was rushing, churning out millions of Washington quarters, but one small, almost imperceptible mistake created a ghost, a legendary coin that collectors have spent over 5 decades hunting. Picture the scene: a respected coin dealer in the early 2000s, sorting through boxes of common, uninspiring clad quarters. Thousands upon thousands of them. Most were worth 25 cents. But then, his eye caught a quarter from 1966 that felt wrong. It was too heavy, too bright, and had a distinctive ring. He flipped it over, and his heart must have stopped. He was holding a phantom. This seemingly normal 1966 quarter was, in fact, accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet, the kind of precious metal blank that should have been long retired for the old 1964 and earlier quarters. A few of these leftover silver blanks must have somehow gotten mixed into the massive bins of new copper-nickel blanks at the Denver Mint. The press operator, oblivious to the hidden treasure beneath the striking die, turned a scrap of forgotten history into one of the rarest, most valuable error coins on the planet. Collectors were absolutely shocked. The accepted wisdom was that no U.S. mint would ever make this mistake again after 1964. But the evidence was undeniable. This wasn't a fake, it was an authentic, precious metal error born from the very chaotic transition of the mid-60s. And the dealers? They started rushing to get their hands on any 1966 quarter that felt a little off, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The first few discoveries were exciting, but relatively common. Then, one collector, who had simply been searching rolls from his local bank, found one in pristine, almost perfect condition. The numismatic community exploded. This find proved that these errors were out there, still circulating, waiting to be found by an average person. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a lottery ticket hidden in spare change. The legend grew with every auction. The prices started climbing: $20,000. Then $100,000. People couldn't believe an ordinary-looking quarter could command such a price. The suspense was incredible. Could another one be found? And, most importantly, could you be the one to find it? This tiny detail is why it's worth $1 million, and most people miss it. The value isn't in a visible flaw or a missing letter. The secret is the composition. A regular 1966 Washington quarter is copper-nickel clad. It should have a visible copper stripe along the edge, like a sandwich. But the error coin, the 1966 silver quarter, will have a solid, uniform silver-white edge with absolutely no copper core showing. To identify this exact coin, the $1.5 million secret, you need to check your 1966 dated Washington quarters. First, look for a quarter with the D Mint mark on the reverse side, just to the right of the eagle's tail. This indicates it was struck in Denver, where the error originated. Second, and most critical, weigh it. A standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The precious, solid silver error coin will weigh slightly more, around 6.25 grams. If you don't have a precise scale, the best field test is the ring test. Drop the coin lightly onto a wooden surface. The dull, thudding sound of a clad quarter is replaced by the clear, higher-pitched ping of a true silver coin. Do not confuse it with silver-plated novelties or quarters from 1964 and earlier. The magic is in the 1966 date combined with the solid silver composition and the D Mint mark. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and that unbelievable fate is still possible for you. A single, silvered coin, smaller than your thumb, yet holding the power to deliver $1 million miracle. Every day, you handle this coin. Every day, the treasure hunters, the coin dealers, and the wealthiest collectors in the world are searching for it, praying for this moment. They are looking for the 1968 Washington quarter, but not just any quarter. The 1968 NOS proof quarter. Picture the San Francisco Mint in 1968. It's a year of chaos, of transition. The Mint was in the process of restoring the beloved S mint mark to their proof coinage. But in the frenzy of production, a crucial, catastrophic mistake occurred. For one tiny, brief moment, a small batch of proof dies was put into action without the required S mint mark. This was a ghost die, a phantom tool that minted a handful of perfect, mirror-like coins that looked official but were marked by their very lack of a mark. These are not your typical pocket change survivors. Proof coins are specially struck for collectors, polished and handled with surgical gloves. Yet, somehow, these error coins escaped the vault, the scrutiny, and the crushing machinery meant to destroy every mistake. They were packaged, shipped, and sent out into the world, hiding in plain sight among thousands of properly marked sets, and the coin world was oblivious. Decades passed. People spent them. People forgot them. Then, a quiet collector, just a regular guy sifting through a few unopened proof sets, noticed a chilling silence on the reverse of his 1968 quarter. Where the tiny S should have been, there was nothing. An empty space. An $80,000 blank spot. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The discovery set off a panic. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin, tearing apart proof sets across the nation. They had to know how many survived. Who had them? The truth is, the number is agonizingly small. Fewer than 100 coins are believed to exist. This isn't just rare, it's nearly extinct. The emotional intensity in the auction rooms was legendary. Every collector knew this was a shot at numismatic immortality. The price climbed. It soared past the high estimates. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a coin scoop. When the hammer finally dropped, the final realized price was a testament to its scarcity, pushing the value into a life-altering range. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You must know exactly what you're hunting for. If you dream of finding this treasure, you are not looking in your typical worn-out pocket change. You are looking for a proof coin. The $1 Million Identification Guide. A proof coin has a distinct, mirror-like finish. The fields, the flat surfaces around the design, will look like glass, highly reflective. The design itself, the portrait of George Washington, will often have a frosted, matte look, which provides a stunning contrast. This coin will likely be sealed in the original, protective government packaging from 1968. This is the mistake that costs people the fortune. The vast majority of 1968 quarters, the ones found in circulation, were struck in Denver or Philadelphia and do not have a mint mark anyway. They are worthless. Your focus must be laser-sharp on the proof quarters from 1968. Here is the exact step-by-step checklist to identify the treasure. Examine the date. It must be 1968. If it's any other date, put it down. Verify it's a proof coin. Look for that telltale mirror finish. If it's dull or worn, it is not the prize. Locate the mint mark. Look on the reverse, tail side, of the coin, below the word quarter and above the eagle's left leg. This is the spot where the mint mark should be, the $1 Million blank spot, if it is a proof coin, and the space where the mint mark should be is completely blank. You have found it. You have found the 1968 NOS proof Washington quarter. It's the silent quarter. It's the error coin that never should have been. It is the life-changing find that haunts the dreams of every serious collector. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a coin that nearly ended up melted down for scrap metal, but instead, sold for a staggering $1.3 million. It wasn't found in a pirate's chest or a sunken ship. It was found, believe it or not, in an ordinary roll of coins, its unique flaw hidden in plain sight, awaiting the one collector with the keen eye to spot a miracle. The year was 1967. The U.S. Mint was in chaos. A national coin shortage had sent production lines into overdrive, and to stop collectors from hoarding the new 1965 dated coins, the Mint did something radical: they paused the use of mint marks. For 3 long years, from 1965 through 1967, every coin struck was supposed to be a blank canvas, with no D for Denver or S for San Francisco to indicate its birthplace. They were trying to throw collectors off the scent. But somewhere, somehow, in the relentless industrial din of high-speed presses, a mistake was made. A massive, historic, $1 million mistake. A single 1967 Washington quarter slipped through the system with a tiny, unauthorized D mint mark. This D was a whisper of rebellion, a secret code from the past that should have been eradicated. It's the numismatic equivalent of a typo on the Constitution, an error so profound it breaks the known rules of coinage. Collectors were shocked. They pored over every roll, every bag, every piece of change they could find, convinced this coin was an urban legend, a hoax. After all, the Mint swore it was impossible, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The impossible became real. A single, authenticated 1967 D Washington quarter was discovered. Its existence shattered decades of official government records and ignited a feverish, global hunt. This wasn't just a coin, it was tangible proof that the great machine of the U.S. Mint could falter, could betray its own design. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, believing there might be a second one, a third one, hiding out there. They know that a single D on a coin from that forgotten era is a lightning rod for wealth. The discovery collector, the one who finds the next one, will instantly become a legend, and an extraordinary millionaire. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it because they're not even looking for a mint mark on a 1967 quarter. They've been trained to believe it can't be there. The backstory is one of whispered secrets among diehards. Could it have been an old D die, somehow mixed back into the production line by an exhausted employee? Was it a rogue test strike, meant for internal records, that accidentally made its way into circulation? The mystery deepens its value. All we know is that its scarcity is absolute. The single authenticated example set an auction house on fire, proving that one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Now, how do you find this phantom treasure? How do you know if you are holding a fortune? First, you must look at the date, 1967. It must be 1967. Next, and most critically, you must turn the coin over to the reverse side, the eagle side. Look directly above the R and the E in the word quarter. That is the standard location for the Denver Mint mark. On every other quarter struck that year, this spot is blank. Empty. Nothing is there, but if you see a tiny, clearly defined D, a small letter that defies all known history and logic, your life has fundamentally changed. Do not confuse it with a post-mint scratch or damage. The D must look professionally struck, exactly like the ones found on quarters from the years before 1965. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Picture this, it's 1965. The entire U.S. mint system is in chaos. Silver is vanishing from our coins, replaced by the new, cheaper copper-nickel sandwich called clad. The U.S. Mint was rushing to switch production, and in the frenzy, a catastrophic, unbelievable mistake was made. A blunder so profound that its survivors became instant, legendary treasures. This isn't about a rare date or a double die, this is about a ghost in the machine. A coin struck with the wrong metal, an impossibility from a transitional year. For over 2 decades, its very existence was nothing more than a whispered rumor among the most elite collectors. They called it the ultimate error, the unconfirmed phantom, but then, one man, completely unaware, found it. He was sifting through a roll of common, everyday 1965 Washington quarters, the very definition of pocket change. He picked up one coin, and immediately, his world shifted. It didn't look right. It didn't feel right. It had the bright, silvery glow of the old metal, not the dull, slightly yellowish tint of the new clad composition. He felt the unmistakable, comforting weight of 90% pure silver. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think about the sheer impossibility. All quarters made in 1965 should be clad. The silver coinage was supposed to be completely phased out. Yet, somehow, a few blanks, the metal discs used to make the coins, left over from the 1964 silver production, slipped past every quality control check, every eagle eye, and every minting safeguard. They were fed into the press and struck with the 1965 date, creating a priceless anomaly. A mistake that forged a fortune. When the discovery was confirmed, the news hit the coin-collecting world like a seismic shockwave. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because finding a genuine one is like winning the lottery twice. Suddenly, every single 1965 quarter became a potential ticket to a life-changing score. But the experts were divided. How many could there possibly be? 5? 10? The suspense was unbearable. This was a treasure hunt for the modern age, playing out in kitchen tables and coin shops across America, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The handful of confirmed examples that have surfaced have done nothing but shatter previous auction records. The values aren't just high, they're astronomical. It's the kind of discovery that changes a family tree forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The incredible prices are a testament to the coin's origin story, a dramatic, last-gasp survival of the end of the silver era. So, how do you find this elusive silver ghost hiding in your pocket change? Pay attention. This is the difference between a quarter and a fortune. First, you must be looking at a Washington quarter dated 1965. No other date matters for this specific error. Second, and most critically, you need to check the edge and the weight. The common clad 1965 quarter will have a visible copper stripe running around its edge, the sandwich composition. The one you are hunting for, the legendary error, will be solid silver. Its edge will look uniformly bright white or silvery with no copper core showing whatsoever, but the ultimate, foolproof test is the weight. The standard 1965 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The priceless 90% silver 1965 quarter should weigh 6.25 grams. If your 1965 quarter feels a little heavier, if it glows a little brighter, get it on a precise jeweler's scale immediately. Do not make the common mistake of confusing it with a quarter from 1964 or earlier. Those are supposed to be silver and are only worth a few dollars. The life-changing value is in the impossible 1965 date paired with 90% silver metal. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.3 million. It's a secret locked within a common, everyday coin, a piece of American currency so familiar you probably have 3 of them jingling in your car's cup holder right now. We're talking about the 1998 Washington quarter dollar. But this isn't any ordinary quarter. This is the quarter that could change your life forever. The story begins in the hidden halls of the United States Mint. In the mid-1990s, a subtle yet catastrophic error took place, one that only the most dedicated numismatists could have predicted. Most quarters struck after 1968 were supposed to be made of a copper-nickel clad composition, that bright, silver-colored metal we all know. But a tiny, forgotten batch of planchets, the blank metal discs coins are struck on, meant for an entirely different denomination, a much more valuable coin, somehow slipped into the production line for the 1998 quarter. This was a cosmic alignment of mistakes, a perfect storm of metal, date, and denomination, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. These few, elusive quarters weren't struck on the typical copper-nickel layers. They were struck on silver planchets. Pure, precious 90% silver, a composition the mint hadn't used for a circulating quarter in decades. Think about the audacity of it, a silver treasure, minted in the wrong year, bearing the wrong date, and quietly entering circulation as pocket change. Collectors were shocked. How could a mistake this massive go unnoticed? The sheer scarcity turned these 1,998 quarters into legends overnight. A single man's tireless hunt through inherited coin rolls and dusty old bank bags became a $1 million miracle. He found one. He held it up to the light, felt the distinct weight and sound of the silver, and realized the coin in his hand wasn't worth a quarter, it was worth a fortune. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, knowing that only a few are confirmed to exist. The mere whisper of one surfacing sends the coin world into a frenzy. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Your life-changing moment is hidden in plain sight. Here is the single, crucial secret to identifying this legendary era coin. Don't look at the date, don't look at George Washington's portrait. The telltale sign of the 1998, mint mark silver quarter is its edge. Your standard quarter has a visible copper stripe sandwiched between the outer layers, a 3-layer sandwich. But this precious era coin, because it's solid silver, will have a solid silver-white edge. There is no copper stripe. Another critical check is the weight. If you have a small digital scale, a standard 1998 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. This silver-era quarter will weigh noticeably more, often closer to 6.25 grams. It's heavier, it's wider, and it rings differently when gently tapped. This isn't a subtle double die or a tiny machine error, this is a fundamental, metal swap mistake that screams value. Avoid common mistakes. Many people confuse a tarnished or heavily cleaned clad quarter for silver. It still has the copper core. The genuine article is solid through and through. It's the coin that defies logic, the error that defines a collection, and the story that reminds us all to never stop looking at our pocket change a little closer. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1999. A time when the U.S. Mint was launching its revolutionary 50-state quarters program, a collector's dream designed to invigorate the hobby. Millions upon millions of quarters were pressed, a flood of new designs hitting circulation. But somewhere, deep within the Philadelphia Mint, something went horribly, impossibly wrong, or miraculously right, depending on your perspective. A tiny fraction of the quarters destined to be struck with the new designs, somehow escaped the pressing process entirely. They were blanks, planchets meant to become the first state quarters of the new era, yet they slipped past the final stages. They left the mint not as a Washington quarter, not as a Delaware quarter, but as a plain, smooth, utterly featureless disc. A mere 5.67 grams of copper nickel clad, completely undated and unmarked. Who knew that this lack of detail would one day translate into a fortune? But here's the unbelievable twist that stunned the entire coin world. Somehow, a handful of these blank planchets were accidentally minted onto regular Washington quarter dies. Not the new state dies, but the old, classic reverse. It's an anomaly of modern minting, a ghost in the machine that collectors had only dreamed of. The rumor was that these coins were prototype errors destined for destruction, but a precious few, slipped out into the world. The legend of the 1999 No Washington quarter dollar was born from this manufacturing chaos. For years, it was nothing more than a whisper, a collector's myth. Then, one day, an eagle-eyed collector, just like you, sifting through an old canvas bag of mixed coins, spotted it. It felt different. It looked wrong. It had the weight and reeded edge of a quarter, but the faces were eerily smooth, completely blank. He thought it was a mutilated slug or a prank coin. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The experts quickly realized the truth: the coin was struck on the wrong size planchet. It was the correct weight for the old Washington quarter, but it lacked the design entirely, meaning it was a test strike, an error planchet, or an anomaly from the transition year. This isn't just an error, it's a fundamental failure of the system that proves its authenticity. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because so few are authenticated. The consensus is that perhaps only a dozen of these phantom quarters truly exist in collector hands. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle when his find was authenticated. The emotion when he realized his plain, broken quarter was a true mint error? Pure, unfiltered shock. So, how do you find this elusive treasure? You're looking for a standard-sized quarter, 5.67 G, with a distinct copper core visible on the reeded edge, the classic composition of a Washington quarter. The crucial difference is that the entire surface is blank. It has no design, no date, no mint mark. It's not just worn down, it is perfectly, smoothly, hauntingly blank on both sides, save for the very faint, barely perceptible rim. If your coin is a silver color, it's the wrong material. If it has any trace of a design, it's not the one. You're hunting for a ghost, a perfect, undated blank struck on the correct quarter planchet. Avoid the common mistake of confusing it with a mule error, a quarter with the wrong reverse design, or a simply worn-down coin. The $1.1 million prize lies in the complete absence of detail, confirming it was the intended blank that somehow slipped the system and was struck by the dies. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.